Good morning, good morning. Let's do it like school. You can hear my voice clap once. All right, can you all hear me? All right, we have a very packed agenda this morning, so we will go ahead and get started. Again, we have a lot of great information. My hope is that you all have some questions so we can get answers and share this information in the community. So again, welcome to the District 1 Breakfast, February Black History Month. So today we will get started with our fire department with some updates about what's going on in the district. And then after that, we've got some other cool stuff for you. So I'll bring you all up.
Morning. My name is Lieutenant Ring. I work up here at station number 10 right up the road. I know you guys are busy this morning, and so are we. That's why I showed up like this. We haven't been back at the station since we got here this morning. One alarm after the other. So I've got some pretty basic stuff to run through with you, and then I'll let you go. Real quick, fire report for last month in District 1. There was 10 total fires. 2 of them were accidental. 5 of them were incendiary, so they were started by candles, something left unattended, or possibly arson. That's I know some of them are still under investigation. 2 of them were undetermined, and 2 of them are under investigation still, for a grand total loss of $601,300. That's the structure damage value. Contents were $283,450. So quite a bit. It's not uncommon to see the rise in fires when it's this cold outside. People are doing a lot of different things to stay warm. Better?
Yeah.
I didn't do it.
Testing.
Is it your microphone?
Good morning.
Oh. Did I drop this when I'm done? The only thing that I'd like to tell you is we are the hazmat station up here. We run a lot of hazmat alarms. We have air monitoring equipment. It's not uncommon this time of year for us to be called out for a lot of carbon monoxide alarms. I made 3 of them in this neighborhood in the last couple of weeks myself. So just a real quick reminder that carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas. You cannot smell it. It's very common in the wintertime for people to be using. It's made from incomplete combustion. That's how it's made. So people are using different things to heat their homes with. Sometimes that can become an issue. Let your cars warm up in the morning. We've had a couple of them where the car was parked in the garage. Person didn't open the garage door, let the exhaust come out, and it'll go somewhere. A lot of times it'll wind up in your home. If that happens, we just air that out and everything is good. But you might keep that in mind if you don't have a carbon monoxide detector. They're awesome to get. I would strongly suggest one. You can put it anywhere in your home. Carbon monoxide weighs the same amount as air. It's just slightly lighter. So wherever the natural airflow in your house goes is where it's going to be. A lot of people ask me, where do I put this detector? Do I put it down low, up high? You know, smoke alarms go up high because heat rises. With carbon monoxide, wherever it's convenient. I like to put them about head high if you have kids, because that's where they're going to be walking. They do have a shelf life. They expire after X amount of years. They're all a little bit different. So keep that in mind too, that they're not a forever deal. You're going to have to also, if you have any gas appliances in the house, they have to exhaust somewhere. And the past couple of times I've seen this year, I've never seen it before. But since the weather's been so cold, a lot of those things exhaust out of your roof. You'll never look at it. You don't even think about it. But 2 of those exhaust pipes have frozen over. And now that stuff with ice had a literal ice cap on it. That gas didn't have any place to go. It starts filling up the house by the time it gets down to where the detectors are. We had pretty high levels of CO in there. Nobody got sick or hurt because they had a detector. So we were able to come out and take care of that. So just other things, common sense, if you're using candles. We did have one structure fire here that was pretty large that was caused by unattended candles. we have a new recruit class that's starting. We have 15 people hired. They're starting the recruit class at the end of this month. So we'll be busy doing that and hopefully fill up some spots that are needed. I think that's about all I got. We'll try not to drop this off the time. You guys have a good rest of your day. Thanks for having us. That thing's got some problems with it. All right, guys.
Thank you, thank you. Guess I'll try that myself. All right, before we go further, I do want to recognize that we do have another elected official in here, Mr. Ben Bankley with the school board. So I always try to invite my other colleagues on the different boards to come here to the breakfast, not only to hear about what's going on, but also to share with you even afterwards. So if you have any questions about schools, Ben's really good on social media about sharing that information, but if you have any other questions, he's always willing to answer those for you. So next up, we'll have some updates from our police department. Captain Moore, commander of North Patrol, is here, and he'll give you a few updates as well.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. I'm glad this lecture is a little bit shorter than I am. I'm a pretty short guy. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Lim Moore. I'm the patrol captain for Patrol North 21st and Hillside. I've been there since about October last year, and we've made a lot of good changes in the patrol station since I've been there, and we have a really good crew working for us. Looking at our statistics for the beginning of the year, I'm proud to say that all of the personal crimes against people are down. Property crimes are not. So that's the good news and then the bad news. What I mean by crimes against persons is that we haven't had any homicides in District 1 this year, and last year at this time we had one. As far as rapes, we've only had one compared to 3 that we had last year. So we're down on that. That's a whole month into the year, which is fantastic. Then as far as aggravated assaults, we're down about 3 of those. And drive-bys are increasing as time goes on, but as of last year, we're still down from last year as far as the drive-bys go. So we're trying to get a grip on those type of crimes. Now, the property crimes, those are up greatly. Our larcenies are up about 25 compared to last year. And what a larceny to auto is people walking by your vehicles, either opening the doors up and taking the laptops and or guns out of them, or change that you have in the dash, but they're removing those things, and that's happening a lot. We're finding that it's happening down in the area of, and this is down by Wesley Hospital because they're hitting the hospitals a lot more now, and St. Francis Hospital, but it's happening in the parking garages of those locations, and then a few within the neighborhoods. People are getting more wise about taking their stuff inside, because it's just a crime of opportunity. When people are walking up your block, and they look in your window and they see 50 cents, yeah, that window may cost you $200, but that 50 cents right there is going to get added to that other 50 cents they took out of the other car they broke into up the street. So now they have $1, you know, so that adds up. But I mean, it's funny, but I mean, that's what someone that's on drugs is thinking. They're not worrying about the aftermath, the consequences that each and every one of you are going through, the problems that it causes you emotionally. They're just worrying about that quick fix. So let's just take that opportunity away from them so that they can keep on moving on. Another project that is going on is Ring Doorbell. Has gotten with the police department, and they've offered to give up 20 cameras for a neighborhood. I don't know which neighborhoods those are going in right now because they're still working in agreements, getting the memorandum of agreement with the police department, with the city together, so that they can figure out where they want to put these Ring doorbells, and they're going to take care of them for about a year, I believe. Ring doorbells are great. Actually, they did a project with, a presentation with us, and they came out and they showed us how many Ring doorbells there are in the city of Wichita and how we can actually use and log onto their site to observe suspects' vehicles going from neighborhood to neighborhood just from a doorbell facing the street, looking at the street. And it's just almost like the FBI does when you're watching those shows and they're saying, we're able to watch and got to connect these videos together and be able to observe things. The technology's there. So though myself, I can't afford a Ring doorbell yet, I've done the research, you know, they're about $200 and then you have to pay monthly. I'm trying to save up for it because it's something that I'm really considering getting for myself, because you want to be able to look at that during the day and see who's walked up on your porch. You want to be able to see who's walking through your yard, and it has a detector that is able to show you that. What I'll do is, there is an organization in Louisiana that's a federally funded, or a nonprofit group, and they're federally granted a 501(c) that actually raises money to put towards individuals, neighborhoods that want to buy systems, not just Ring, but any security system, and it allows those neighborhoods to be able to get them at a lower price. So I'll get that information to Camila, so that way she can get that issued out to the website. You all have that. That just came in the other day from a representative that contacted me on LinkedIn. Other things that are going on, we're upgrading our camera systems within our organization. The Axon cameras that officers wear, we've actually, when we did the contract, we were allowed 2 refreshes or 2 upgrades within a 5-year period. Well, this is our first upgrade that we're going through. And so the camera systems that we have now, they're broken down, and I don't really know technology very well, but they're broken down into 30 second to a minute increments where they have to relapse or something or another, and they start all over. So they're broken up into kilo categories. They have it now to where it's straight video. So it's start to finish, and that's going to save money because we don't have to worry about the storage of that stuff being broken down and categorized, but it's actually one video that's broken down and saved. So that's going to save money over time as far as the storage goes. And at the same time, the officers, the policies that we've incorporated for them are working and they're incorporated. So instead of the officer turning it off when they're talking to a supervisor, we don't have to worry about the officers turning it off. We have a mute function, so we're determining right now whether we're going to incorporate that mute function, and that's something the chief and other departments across the nation are working out right now, or if we're just going to have it straight video or straight information across. The reason why they have the mute function on those videos there is because if by chance we're giving out your personal information because you're a victim and you're involved with a shooting or a rape or an attack, we don't want that stuff admissible into court. We want to be able to mute it and tell your personal business of what took place to the supervisor. The supervisor can make that determination of what they want to do with it at that point. A lot of people across the nation have the mute function already. When the officers are muting it, they're taking it to court and saying, we don't know what the officers are saying. And so they're fighting that. And the officers have been winning because they're saying that's personal information about the victim. We don't want this in the public record, because this person has rights too. And so we're winning that. However, I'm letting you know this up front so that when we do get that and someone does make that argument, at least you have a little bit of knowledge. This is why we're using the mute function on the new camera systems that we're upgrading to. As far as everything else in the Patrol North Bureau, like I said, they're doing a great job of getting a new roof on the patrol station. So that's exciting. They're looking at possibly getting a new substation within the next 8 years. So hopefully that happens. It's 6 to 8 years that that's supposed to be happening. But until the meantime, we are getting a new roof, and I appreciate the councilman stepping up and getting that taken care of. It was supposed to be replaced 3 years ago, but now they're on the ball because people are speaking up and taking care of us. And as far as let's see, everything else, we're doing actually a pretty good job up north. I'm pretty proud of them. I'm one of those people that I sit back, I lead by example. I like to be out in the community. Some of you have already seen me out there. Some of you keep emailing me, let me know when your community events are going because I get so tied up and forget sometimes. But I do like to be out there. Yes, sir.
You stated some positive things about the mute function, but is there some negative things that happen with the mute function as well?
Yeah, if you go to Sacramento, if you go to just type in Sacramento Axon cameras when you get on Google. And so what's happening is that's what the chief has sent us. Said, this is an example of why we're debating this right now. Because in Sacramento, there was an officer-involved shooting of a male. And that male was shot. So when the officers were out there on scene, they were all talking. Well, all of a sudden, all at once, all 7 officers that were on scene hit the mute function. That was suspicious. They were able to justify, because they did have one person that was there that was listening. They were able to justify, you'll read it. They were able to justify that everything was legitimate and legal, but to the public perception, it looks suspicious. And so if you're all turning off your mute or turning on your mute at the same time, what are you talking about? What are you planning? What are you plotting? What's going on back there? The public wants to know. But if it's just one individual talking to a supervisor, and the way we're trying to work it out is everyone has the mute function, but you're not allowed to turn the mute on until the supervisor walks up to you and says mute that. And then that way you have an order from a supervisor saying to mute it. It's on camera because they're walking up to you and they're saying mute it, and then you're having a discussion about the crime with the supervisor so they can get the details of what's happening. So that way it's not admissible into court. Because what happens also is if that recording, that conversation happens between the officer and the supervisor, and let's say that officer's conversation isn't really totally right. It's just one-sided. Then when it goes to court, that defense is going to look at that and say, you know what, hey, the officer was told this, but in reality, that's what he's telling the supervisor, what's in reality, this is what really happened. So the police were totally wrong, when really, no, we're at the beginning phases of this investigation. We're going to have wrong information initially sometimes, and it's going to be up to us to be able to weed through those little barriers and be able to get through it to get to the truth. And that's what we're about, is getting to justice and getting to the truth of the matter of things. And so that was the biggest problem, sir, is that everyone hits the mute button at one time, so now no one's hearing, and someone should have their recording on way across the field. Why would you have to mute across the field when the supervisor's talking way over here? You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened in Sacramento. So Google Sacramento and then police cameras, and that'll pop up and you'll read that story. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have to keep moving on.
Yeah, I apologize.
I would say though, if you have questions, Monday night is our district advisory board meeting where WPD shows up. So North Patrol, East Patrol, South Patrol, West Patrol doesn't touch our district. But, so if you have questions, you can ask them. They'll have specific details. You'll be able to talk to the beat officers at 6 o'clock Monday night, right here in this room. Hope to see you there. All right, up next, we have a presentation from Ms. Misty Bruckner on Project Wichita. Many of you may have heard about Project Wichita. Some of the findings in the plan is released, and I kind of helped with some of that. Misty did all the hard work. I just got to sit there. But yeah, we'll have that presentation so you can learn more about what was said and what the 10-year plan looks like. And we will take questions on that.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm Misty Bruckner from Wichita State. How many of you have heard of Project Wichita? All right. My goal is in another year so that everybody will be raising their hands so that we will be spreading the word about what's going on. Phil is getting us loaded up here. We started this project a little less than a year ago. And it is an effort to create a 10-year vision plan for our region. The idea is there's a lot of good things going on in our community. There's a lot of momentum going on. But there's still some big issues that we need to address. And these are issues that are difficult issues. Not one group, not one entity can own that problem. And so how do we come together to help address those? There's also a lot of good things already gone that people are already moving forward with. So what are the issues that are not getting the momentum that we need? And so that's really the focus of this 10-year plan, is to be strategic with what that work looks like and how we move it forward. So the plan is heavily based on engagement. So that's why we're out doing this work. That's why I'm like, how many people know about it? Because my goal really is to get as many voices involved as we can. It was led by 4 co-chairs: Aaron Bastian from Fidelity Bank, Debbie Gann, recently retired from Spirit, Scott Schwindeman, who's president and CEO of Lubrication Engineering, and Justin White, the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club. Cannot say enough good things about these people. I've never worked with a group of leadership that was completely in it for what does our community need, what does our region need. Every time that was the conversation. So their leadership was phenomenal for this process. Over 90 plus businesses, local government, and nonprofits helped fund this project. So about 80% of it was actually funded by private businesses that said, our companies, our growth is dependent upon how successful our region is. And so they were the ones that put the majority of dollars behind this. We had 3 phases: listen, which is really a lot of the engagement work; focus, which is how do we get this plan pulled together? What are the critical issues? Not all the issues, what are the critical ones we're going to be working on? And then the share phase. And that's what we're doing right now, is like, we heard you, this is what we're thinking, we're coming back out, and we're sharing the results of moving forward. So in the first phase of the listen phase, we did 239 focus groups. Did anybody in here participate in one of those focus groups? A few head nods, a few hands up, great. So we did about 102 of those in person in about a 6-week period, and there was another 137 of them that were done online. So it was like, here's the questions, you enter the data, we'll take it back together. So we figured there was a focus group going on about every 6 hours in our region. So we thought that was really cool that people were thinking about big issues going on. If we would have printed out all the notes we got from this, it would have been stretched more than a mile. It was longer than To Kill a Mockingbird, the first 3 Harry Potters. I mean, there's a lot of thoughts people were sharing with us about how this should work. We also did, I'm trying to make sure I know which, we have several versions of this presentation. Okay, so we also took that information, we took that into 8 essential themes that we heard from the focus groups. And so how we did that is we did it 2 ways. We did it by reading all of that, but we also ran it through some electronic information that we have that showed what are the things people are most talking about. So it was kind of interesting. It's making sure we finished Kellogg was the one single item that was mentioned most, right? But it was only mentioned once, whereas like was mentioned in 95% of the focus groups, and it took up 30% of the conversation. So education is really important for us as a region, right? So that's how, we didn't just pick these topics, we just didn't pick the issues for the survey questions. It came from the community and from those conversations. We went through about what were these investments to look like, what would that look like for our region to move forward, and there's really 10 essential things that people were talking about. But if you put it in the idea of what is, all can be captured in this idea of talent, right? So how do we keep people, how do we grow people, and how do we attract people to come here? That's the heart of a lot of what we are talking about here. And so it really gets to education opportunities, promotion and job opportunities for people, as well as information about how do we grow what we have already. We're looking for some silver bullet to come from the outside, right? How do we take what we have and move that forward here? So the highest ranking areas that we found, just a little bit of the differences, because people think differently, right? Depending on your age, depending on your race, depending on your gender, depending on your income levels, you think differently. So these are some of the information that we have about how people think differently about that. So attractions, what happens downtown? How many festivals we have? Let me tell you, people have ideas on festivals. That was really interesting about how many different types of festivals people want. People think differently versus your age, right? So this is really a higher importance for people who are younger than people that are older. And that economic development, the inclusive index, and that just means we ask questions about how important is it that we create opportunities for women? How important is it that we create opportunities that might have some physical or mental disadvantages? How important is it that we create opportunities for different races? Income levels. And so that's what the inclusive index looks at. There are differences, and we think it's important for people in leadership to understand that we see the world differently based on that kind of information. Education is another one. People see the world differently on how important education is to them. Same thing with health and same thing with neighborhood. A couple of things that I'll point out that we found interesting just from the research perspective is the gender difference was the biggest difference we saw in how people responded to this. It had a higher differentiation than race, differentiation than income. So that was something we thought was pretty interesting. In neighborhoods, which you are all neighborhood leaders and involved in, age played the difference. So the older a person was, the more important it was for them that their neighborhood be healthy. And so again, just something to think about when we're rolling out policies or talking about issues that impact, or just information that people may need. Okay, so the biggest takeaway that we had, the highest ranking item on any of the survey, was this willingness to change. 4 out of 5 people said, if we are going to be successful as a region, we have to be willing to change to attract and keep that next generation, okay? So that is like a mandate call, right? I mean, and so I see a few head noddings going around, but it takes all of us to be able to say, what does that look like? What does that mean? And how do we get that right going forward? This is the vision statement. It's on the website. But 3 things that are, I'm not going to read that to you, but the heart of it is this. We got to invest in ourselves. Every recent study that's been done is we underinvest publicly and we underinvest with private information, private donations going in. So if we don't put more dollars, more time, more resources into our region, it's not going to improve. So that, you guys, I'm singing to the choir because you're here on your Saturday morning giving back to your community. But we need more of us, right, that are willing to do that. Connected community. This was so important for the younger generations, right? They want to feel like they have a connection in their community, whether you live in South Wichita, whether you live in Mound Ridge, Kansas. We were in these high schools talking to these kids. They feel connected with their age group and what's going on. They don't feel connected to our region. And so having people who feel connected is critical. Future generation mindset. We all want to leave it better than what we found it. I think that's something that's pretty universal. How we do that is a challenge, right? We all have different perceptions, but let's keep thinking about how do we leave it better for my kids, for our grandkids, right? And then the last one is Quit being scared, folks. Let's boldly see some opportunities. We're gonna have some failures, and that's okay. Let's not let this stop us from trying. And that's a shift in the Wichita mindset. And how do we move that forward? Those are the guiding principles. Okay, whoops. Okay, so that. Okay, so man. All right, freeze. All right, so that led to all of that work, all the information that came back from the surveys, the focus groups led to 5 focus areas. So talent, which just means development of people to be productive, healthy, contributing adults, right? I mean, we need people in the workforce. There's a job shortage, but there's a job shortage because people don't have the skill sets they need for the jobs that are open. It's a changing economy, and we got to get everybody ready and able to contribute to that. Lifelong learning is education, but really trying to think about education impact for folks, and that it's not just a high school diploma anymore, right? And it's not even a college degree anymore. It's technical skills that are needed out there, and it's forever, right? I mean, it is higher ed, spokesperson of WSU. We have to change to meet these very fast changing demands that are coming at us. Economic prosperity is exactly what it says. How do we do better with that? Strong communities and neighborhoods was one of the focus areas that was led by Councilmember Johnson, and then quality of place. I'm going to give you just a couple of highlights from all of those. Talent, the action plan for talent really focused on how do we grow talent and attract it. So we don't have enough people to fill the jobs that we have right now, or the people that have the skill sets to fill the jobs that we have right now. So how do we create opportunities to make sure that people have those skill sets that are needed? This is all on Project Wichita website. Councilmember Johnson has it, so I'm not going to go through all of the different strategies that are there. The second initiative was really how to retention advancement. So we know people get to kind of mid-career sometimes and they're not sure what they can do to continue to advance. So this is some strategies to think about how people can change from industry to industry. Sometimes industries are going away. How do we get folks retrained so that they can go on to that? And the other part of this is truly creating opportunities for people of color, for women, for young professionals, so that they feel included in these opportunities to move forward. And so that's a big part of this conversation. Lifelong learning, this is like, solve education in 6 quick weeks. There is nothing easy about this. And so really focused in on 2 areas. One is literacy. If children can be at reading level by 3rd grade, I'm looking at our folks here, right? We're good. We are golden. If we can get kids reading at grade level by 3rd grade here, we have changed that trajectory for that child forever, right? But that's not easy. It's not like this is new information, but we've got to have different ways to come at this problem if that's going to be real. And it's going to take all of us. I mean, it's going to take everybody. And so we have set this up as a regional conversation because this is something that impacts rural areas, it impacts the heart of Wichita, and it impacts suburban areas too. So literacy is critical, and we don't have a really great strategy right now in our region to do that. So that's a big effort. Student Success Partnership really means we need businesses, we need nonprofits, we need neighborhood groups, we need all hands on deck moving this forward and being spokespeople for our children and for our educational institutions with a real focus on making sure that they are job ready. So whether they want to go to be an engineer, whether they want to be a hairdresser, whether they want to be on the line at Spirit, we don't care. We just want them to be able to have a job and be successful, and that's going to take all of us. Strong communities and neighborhoods. 2 big areas was connectivity. So how do we get resource institutions, what we're calling anchor institutions, within neighborhoods? And how do we create toolkits for neighborhoods so they can do their own assessment to talk about what needs they have in their neighborhood? And the other part of this is a huge focus on mental health. There was this number 6 item that we heard back from those 14,000 people that said mental health is critical, and we've got to quit having a stigma about mental health, right? And we've got to get more resources to people so they can be productive and healthy folks and contributing back. Economic prosperity, growing jobs, which is an ongoing strategy. Things I think that are really cool about this that are a little bit different is this entrepreneurship ecosystem, meaning there are a lot of bright people out there with a lot of good ideas, but they don't know how to connect it in to make it into a successful money-making business. And so how do we do better to support that all over our region, especially in areas that are not being touched right now?